And even if you impact one person in this world, like that's enough.
Yeah.
That is so true.
There was a post that I saw today, and it said, like, you know, a lot of people do things for, like, clout, you know, and, like, or, like, based off, like, feedback. Like, a lot of people do things for feedback.
Someone else's approval, basically. Yeah.
Versus, like, actual faith on what it is that you want to accomplish or believe in. So if your basis is on, like, feedback, like the attention and all of that, like, it's not going to go any further than, like, actually having faith in what it is that you believe. Like I said earlier, like, your priorities, like, and values truly matter in what you do. Like, that's what's going to take you far. Like, when people think, like, oh, like, what do you tell yourself, like, to keep you going? And it's like, I learned this from a podcast that I heard, like, a year ago, and she said, like, I don't list all these goals. Like, I just list, like, I always go back to my values. Like, what do I value? I value these things. It's so simple. And that will lead you, like, in the right path.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Confess It, Baby.
Welcome. We're in a new location. You guys should be used to it by now. And this is a very special episode because it is Women's Month. So this episode, we're going to have a special guest, but not only one. We got two special guests in the building today. One of them is Blood.
Blood.
It's an OG face from Brunette Confessions back in the day. If you know, you know. This is going to be a familiar face. The next one, she does my brows. So it's a very special person. I see a lot. We're going to zoom into their faces after. Yeah, and I forgot how to do freaking intro. So with that said, let's welcome these two beautiful entrepreneurs, Marialys and Clara.
Welcome.
They're a little nervous. We're nervous too. We haven't had a guest in a while. So we have 3 mics working with us today. So we gave them 2, and then Ili and I will just share one.
I will be doing sign language.
We're all just going to be like going like this to the side. Whenever we have to say something, we're just going to tap each other.
We're going to be confessing.
We're going to be confessing it. Okay, guys. So let's introduce yourselves. Marialys, you want to start?
Sure, I'd love to. So my name is Marialys, but a lot of my friends call me Marialys because it's just the American way to say it. But I am a makeup artist, and I've been a makeup artist for 10 years now. Those that tuned into Brunette Confessions, I'm sure you know a lot about those
The
days.
real OGs, bro. I
Cringy
saw
and
people that
embarrassing.
like bring that up to me. He's like, yeah, I used to watch Ask the Brunettes. I'm like, oh, okay. So
I'm like,
cringy.
I hope Jennifer has deleted those videos.
No, they're still there and have so many views.
And
I can't break it down.
I would not look at them because I will cringe.
No, I've watched it and I cringe. I freaking cringe.
I want to die. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, it's out there, sis. And there's no way to take it down. It's going to stay there.
But anyway, back to what I was saying. I've been in the beauty industry for a very long time. So it's something that I absolutely love. I'm passionate about. I love working alongside women and meeting all types of people. And that is how I met Clara.
Go ahead. I know, and I honestly, like, I stuck in my intro. I had this whole intro for Clara. I'm like, she does permanent makeup. She's a yoga teacher, mindset coach. Like, I had this all prep, and I just, like, completely blanked. But Clara, take the floor.
We're trying to remember.
Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Clara, as she said. I've been in the beauty industry for about 10 years as well. I'm also a yoga teacher and a mindset coach. And I host monthly workshops with
It's monthly,
Marialys.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
monthly, yeah. With Marialys, and we focus on personal development and helping women empower themselves.
Tell me a little bit of how you guys, like, the inspiration behind these workshops. Like, how did it all start for you guys?
So as soon as Clara and I met, we just knew there would be like a great friendship between us. We shared a lot of values like friendship, and like we thought about the same things very similarly. So throughout the years of knowing each other, we became very good friends. And so we realized like how important it was to have each other's support and sisterhood. And we've always dreamed of creating something bigger than what we do that impacts the people around us, not just us. So we felt like, okay, now we have this beautiful space that we're at right now. And so we always dreamed of doing that, and it finally happened. And now we're like, okay, like this is happening. What we used to talk about before, like this can come into fruition. So we just started hosting things, like, and she just said, let's just post it. And we're like, oh, but we're not ready yet, or we don't feel like
It's never the right time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's always some detail you're looking, and it's really just like a mind thing. Like it's like there's fear on the other side of it because you don't know how it's gonna go. But as soon as that we had that first workshop, we didn't know what we were doing, but we're like, let's just compile this, and it went so well. I remember thinking like, wow, all this work was so well worth it because the impact it was having, even women that weren't even able to introduce themselves, they felt like, wow, like this is so nice to have like a sisterhood of people that they're able to talk about how they feel or just anything, hold space for people. And that's exactly what we wanted, because since we give that to each other, we feel like other women should have that support in their lives.
It is a personal development workshop. So tell me a little bit about like what goes on.
So every month we have a different topic. We're basing them right now off of the energy centers, the chakras. So each chakra, each energy center carries like a positive and a negative. So we're working on educating and helping them develop either the weakness or the strength of each energy center. So the next one that we're doing is the third energy center, which is the solar plexus, which is the seat of our discipline and willpower, our courage, but it's also releasing shame and like stepping into your power.
And from all the people, you know, that have already been to these workshops and things you've seen, why do you think it's so like, in a way, necessary in this generation to kind of have like the support of like-minded women coming together and kind of like uplifting each other in a spiritual way, to do these meditations? Like, tell me a little bit about that background that you guys been noticing.
So this is what we feel is so necessary for like the women and for us. Even just being able to hold ourselves accountable to be doing this monthly has really helped us personally and even in our careers, in the sense because like how you show up in everything in your life, your career, your personal life, your relationships, we all pour into that cup. We're just one person. And a lot of times we could just be on the rat race and just living life and like feeling like you're always in that fight or flight mode. And we don't really take the time to center ourselves or give ourselves that time of just like reflection or just like being present in the moment. So we feel that these workshops is just a way for women to hold themselves accountable or even invite a friend. And like that's always like a case too. Like they'll bring a friend and they're like, wow, I'm so happy they brought us here, because we got to see how like even just taking a moment for ourselves for 1 hour, like this felt so releasing. And that's what we tell them when you come to our workshops, like we just want you to receive and release whatever it is that you're feeling. And it feels like a safe space. And I feel like even in a women industry, working with women, or even living in Miami especially, a lot of women can be very catty, or like people feel that like they don't even have a friend where they could share something with. And like I feel like Clara and I have done a good job to surround ourselves with women that you're able to talk about these things and you won't feel judged and you won't feel like, you know, you can't be vulnerable, because a lot of times people won't take the time to be vulnerable. It's a strength to be vulnerable versus holding everything in.
Yeah, I also feel as a woman, especially here in Miami, the older I get, I just turned 30. It's hard to find reliable friends and like people that you can vent to. You know, it's kind of like the ones that are in your circle already. And even then, life is passing by so fast that it's hard to like catch up or like have that moment of peace and meditation with one another. So these workshops in a way are kind of like church, where you just can go and sit and, you know, reflect on your life, on your problems, and also relate to other girls that are probably going through the same or worse than you are. So why don't you tell me a little bit about those girls coming in for the first time? What does it look like for them, for like as far as it being a safe space? Do they have to talk? Do you encourage them to share their stories, or can they just come and sit back and just listen to what others have to say?
So we definitely try to provide a no judgment zone. So that's really important for us to know that you're not going to be judged in any way, no matter what you say. And we allow people to just use the space however they feel safe, you know? So some people want to share, some people don't want to share, and that's okay. Like, we don't pressure anyone. We just allow it to be. Sometimes people don't want to share at the beginning, but towards the end, they may have shared more than anyone else. So,
And sometimes I'm an overshare, so whenever I vent, I leave feeling so refreshed and like I don't know anything about the chakras, but I feel like they leave fully like charged, aligned, and this is kind of like why we do this too. Because I was telling her not too long ago, even if this doesn't go anywhere, it's like so refreshing to sit down and just have that girl moment once a week and talk about our problems in life and like our dreams. So I feel like these workshops really encompass that too, and it's even nicer when it comes from like two pretty girls that like know what they're talking about. But yeah, like I think Jen has something to say.
Is actually going back to oversharing. Do you guys feel like the people that come, like they kind of like overshare, like it's their safe space to like release everything they like been holding on? Because like I don't overshare whatsoever. I'm a fucking private, like a really private ass person. Do you feel like it's a space that people like me can come in and like actually like open up and let go?
Yeah, so I feel like there has been moments, like Clara had mentioned, that people will walk in and it's like, you know, a little like not awkward, but like people are being shy, you know, especially people that have never met anyone there. There's people who have showed up by themselves. And as soon as we always start with introductions and icebreakers, and like it's like leading by example, right? When you feel like you're in a space where like I just shared something very personal, which we don't encourage, like, oh, you have to, okay, now it's not, now your turn to share.
Like you're the first day in class, like what did you do this summer? And then you're the one to start?
Yeah, we're not gonna question them.
So we actually give them an option. So like when we say like, oh, we're gonna go around, introduce your name. So we say like, oh, you can either mention what brought you here or just one word, like how you're feeling or what you want to cultivate today. So we make them feel like it's an option of what they can do, you know, what they're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's been cases where like someone won't share because they're like, oh my God, I had so much anxiety sharing in front of a big group. But they do let us know at the end of the class, at the end of the workshop, that they're like, wow, like it was really moving, and I really did take something from this, and I felt like I was able to release whatever I felt today, and it was very nice, and they kept it to themselves. But you know, that's the goal. You know, not everyone needs to share everything or overshare. As long as you felt like you took something from it and it was something positive, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, what would you want them to take away, like after each session? Something positive, basically.
So we have people who've actually just cried, like introducing themselves. Like that's how much they needed to be in that space. That just like sitting there and just feeling that they're in that space, they just cry, like saying their name. And then we just like hold space for them until they're ready.
Damn, that's powerful. Imagine, because you're like crying in a room full of strangers in a way.
Yeah, I mean,
Also, I feel like we are kind of same when it comes to this. Like we hold everything in until we just kind
You
of
guys gotta come to our workshop.
until we can't anymore.
Next month.
I'm already here. I'm gonna sleep here until then.
Heart, opening the heart.
But
so.
it's just kind of like you know, these girls come in with the mindset of like, okay, I'm about to walk into something that, you know, I have to be open about, and like, you know, be open to any feeling that might come my way. And when you store that much in and you walk into a place that's what you're supposed to do, to just like go, as soon as, even before you start speaking, you're just kind of like, okay, it's time to like let it all go. And when you do, it feels so nice and refreshing that even if you don't share, like what you were saying, you take that home with you and you reflect, and you just have the ability to actually sit down and think about your feelings and process them and like figure it out.
absolutely. We feel that this is also so important because we're not taught this. Like we're not taught this from our. My parents are immigrants, so they came from a different country where, like, you know, emotional support and emotional intelligence was not taught to them. So now we're living in a different era where like there's so much information. You can search up anything and you could figure out like, oh, if I'm feeling this, what can I do? Or like find research on anxiety and things like that. Our parents didn't have that, so it's not their fault. So we didn't know how to self-regulate. So, or even just sharing or even just crying, it's like you seem weak. But now if you read up on crying, there's new research that comes out every day on emotional and mental health. Even by crying, you're releasing. Or even by sharing, you're releasing. You're just holding space for someone. In that moment, that person, all we need is someone to listen sometimes. Even if I can't solve your issue or what it is that you're going through, because we're all going through something, just being able to share that, it was a way to release. Just being able to release. So now that there's like a lot of information on vulnerability, like I feel like these workshops make it okay to be vulnerable. Like a lot of times, like I was telling like my therapist, like, I can't believe that I'm crying right now. Like I try to keep it together. I try to be strong. That's what I said. And she's like, what you're doing right now is being strong. By not allowing yourself to feel things, you're resisting those feelings. And that's not being strong at all. That's being weak because you're holding everything in until one day you explode. So that's why it's so important to like redefine what strength really is. And that's what we try to really do in these workshops.
And you mentioned therapy, and I feel like us with our parents is something they really don't believe in.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So what does your mom like thought about it when you first told her, hey, like I want to do therapy, or you just didn't even tell her?
Yeah, so like I remember first calling my
They're like, you're not crazy. Why do you need to go see a therapist?
Yeah, she's like, she gonna like medicate you? Like, are you gonna take medication?
It's like a psychiatrist for them.
No, at all. So
My mom thinks going to see a therapist will make you go crazy.
yeah, because they think there's like a saying that like therapists are crazier than like normal people, right?
Yeah.
But we're all human, like, you know,
We're all crazy.
Yeah, we're all crazy.
Exactly.
I was born crazy. I was born.
Mom was like, you don't need a therapist. I'm your freaking therapist. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
The
she's
chancletas.
the chancleta's a therapist. Literally, that's what it is.
snap out of it. Just give a cacotazo, you'll be good.
Sabi una boba. Get over it.
So when I first introduced therapy to my mom, she's like, tú lo que necesitas es Dios, mija. Tú lo que necesitas es Dios en tu
God.
vida. Which is true. I need Jesus Christ in my life. But so like Clara mentioned that she listens to a lot of podcasts. Like I've read up a lot of books on people that do like personal development, and they always talk about the importance of therapy. Like, and it's the same way we go to the gym, right? Like we work on our physical fitness, like same with our emotional wellness, our mental health. We're constantly going through different journeys in our life, and we need to work out our brain. There's certain things that we don't know how to go without until there's someone that's a professional on the other side, like asking you questions. Because that's all my therapist does. She just asks me questions.
Yeah.
And then she kind of knows, and then she helps me get there. So it's the same thing as we do here, like in workshops, basically. It's just holding space for me. And she helps me like realize a lot of things that are like easy fixes, these fears that I had that I didn't even know I had. And it's helping me advance in my career, in my relationships. It's really helped me. But yeah, I mean, getting through that with my mom, now she's like, where can I sign up? Like,
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
And
It is
even
good.
with certain cousins of ours, like
Yeah.
friends, all my friends like have gone to her. Like, she's great.
Yeah, I mean, it takes someone like you, right? Putting it out there and letting them know how it's worked for you as an example,
Yeah.
and then they're open to it. It's about opening kind of your mindset, like to the possibility that it can actually help and not being so close-minded.
Yeah, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
I also think that the reason why they're so closed-minded is like what you mentioned, that they come from a country where this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So to them, it's a form of being weak, asking for help or asking just to have someone to listen to you vent. So you bringing in your mom is kind of like you putting that world ahead of her for her to feel better and maybe find that happiness. Like with my parents, I see it all the time. Like I'm like, maybe you guys live so frustrated because you can't vent to anyone. It's been years of trauma, basically, like of having to leave your country. I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like, to leave all your friends behind, your relationships behind, and go to a country with no one except a pair of clothes, maybe, if you're lucky. So having a therapist or just even coming to a workshop like that, I'm considering bringing my mom, because I feel like just being in a safe space and seeing that in front of them, like
Her mom is wild.
my mom
We
will
love
be like,
wilds.
give me that microphone, I'm getting up there. None of you are depressed. We're just poor. That's what my mom will say.
We're just poor. We got money problems.
A trabajar. But no, seriously speaking, like I do think about that, and I see my grandmother and I'm like, I wonder what it's like to be that age and like look back at your generation and see them thriving because of the fact that they're venting and opening up and, you know, entering a world full of possibilities and encouragement as well.
Yeah.
Okay, mic pass.
This mic back and forth is so awkward. It's like,
I feel like we're back in the sorority where we're passing the candle.
we're like, give me the mic, and we're going
Ever
like
so
this.
passive aggressive. Yeah, no.
No, she was talking before, and I'm like, give me the mic. It's not that I didn't want you to finish.
Pass me the microphone.
A quick tug of war.
Yeah. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so the next one you guys are having Tuesday, Thursday, right? The 21st?
Thursday.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about what can people expect for that one, because I did see it's all about your lucky girl era. So what does that mean?
So, Lucky Girl era is being in a place where you've actually worked to be where you are and just feeling lucky that you have the ability to achieve those things. It's not just luck that happened, it's luck that you worked for. So, we're going to be discussing the importance of consistency, because consistency builds discipline. And something I was talking about the other day is that it's very important to have discipline over motivation, because motivation always changes. But discipline is something consistent. And as you go being disciplined, you go developing self-trust. And when you trust yourself, you trust others. So it's all like interconnected. And the more you have discipline and you trust yourself, the more you know what you're capable of and the more confident you become.
In our Lucky Girl era was also like, okay, it's March, so what can we do, like incorporating the holiday? And I don't know if you guys have seen like on TikTok, like the Lucky Girl syndrome.
Yeah. We had an episode last season like all about it.
Yeah. Oh, really? I have to watch it.
We had a season about it.
But so we thought, oh, how cute, like Lucky Girl syndrome, and it's St. Patrick's month.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, what is Women's Month? Like, I forgot it's St. Patty's
This is us
too.
like redefining what lucky is to us,
Oh,
you
that
know?
makes sense.
So
Yeah.
on TikTok, Lucky Girl syndrome is just like affirming things you do, like self-affirmations, like I am strong, I am beautiful, I am worthy. And although we believe those things are very true and they can work, but there's like, you can look at yourself in the mirror and like not believe those things. So that is why we feel that like redefining like that Lucky Girl syndrome, like what Clara said, is that there's going to be days where we don't feel that. There's going to be days we don't want to do certain things. But in that discipline, like that becomes like second nature to you. Like it's like you go to, like Jennifer has been working out since she was very young, and like now you can't miss because you created that second,
Which
that
I missed
habit.
today.
Me too. Which is okay.
I decided to sleep instead, but it's
That's
okay.
But it's a healthy, like it's a healthy habit that you built in your
Yeah.
life, and now you can't live without it. You've seen all the good it's done in your life, and like that's what we want to incorporate with like being lucky, and why we want to redefine like affirming and not feeling it, and like it's like making it part of your life.
Every time you guys finish like one of these workshops and you guys have help all the women, are they guys too?
There's been guys.
There's been
that have
guys.
shown
Right?
up.
I've seen some video. That's why I'm like wondering, for the guys and the girls that have come, how do you kind of like feel like after the workshop itself is over and you guys feel like you made an impact in someone's life? Because like back when I was a reporter, that would help people like with their problems and help them. I don't know if they needed funds for surgery, and I would air it on TV or whatever. Like they would come back with me with such a success story because of what I did. Like I will feel so fulfilled. So I can imagine you guys helping multiple people in 1 hour. Like how does that make you feel?
Yeah, we definitely feel fulfilled. Like at the end of the night, we're tired, we're exhausted, we're cleaning up, but we're like, man, that was so nice. Like that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad we did this. Like we feel like that every month. And every month we feel even more fulfilled than the last.
Yeah, it just keeps on getting better and better. And like the best part of it all is like us staying consistent with it and seeing how it's like slowly building, right? Like it's like slowly building.
But I mean, everything
I feel
starts
like
slow.
It's been the same. Like,
Yeah,
it's
It's been steady,
consistent.
which is
Yeah.
that's good. Being steady,
Like
Consistent.
15 to 20, I would say 4 people the most, like since we started.
Yeah.
And that's a good group because it's only 2 of us.
Absolutely.
So, and we want to keep it personal. We don't want, in this space at least.
Yeah. There's times where like I'll feel so overwhelmed getting like everything ready, like all the information ready. And then like there's always a time that I always go to the bathroom once the workshop is like, even while it's happening, and something happened, and like I always like pray to God, and I'm like, wow, like I was feeling so overwhelmed, but like this is why we do this, because I just saw it like really deeply affect someone, or someone shared something, and like I'm like, this is God's work. That's what God wants in our life. That's what everyone's purpose should be. It's like what you were saying about your job. Like you felt so overwhelmed a lot, but when you would do something nice for them, it kept fulfilling you. Like I feel like every work that we do in life, personally, career-wise, like there should be moments that we feel fulfilled. It's always something bigger and something that impacts a lot of people. Like if there's a job that's just like, we're just like, it's so taxing, or it's like, it's just for me, you get so self-absorbed and you forget what life is really about, and it's supporting one another, loving one another. Like we can't do life alone, you know?
Practicing gratitude. And I feel like you don't notice that until like time goes on.
Absolutely. That's a big one.
I relate to you 100% when it comes to like that feeling of fulfillment. When someone comes up to you and they're like, thank you for sharing that, or, you know, thank you for being that motivation or that inspiration. Like you opened up this window of thoughts in my mind. I've had a significant weight loss these past few years, and
Nice.
Congrats.
I've been trying. But like at first, to me, it was so superficial. It was about it's.
I meant like a really big change, bro.
I didn't even know.
It is so weird to not have a mic. I'm sorry.
I have these headphones and I can't even listen right, so I don't know what happened. But what I was saying was that at first, like when I was starting to lose weight, it was a goal just, you know, mainly for myself. Nothing more than that. And then it slowly became something that I found extra motivating to know that people were following behind me and like telling me like, oh my gosh, your journey is inspiring us. Like if you were able to do it, we can do it too. And it's become that for me. It's more so like I'm going to post my journey on my stories on Instagram to share that motivation to hopefully someone. And every time I get a question, whether it's about like my compressive leggings, my faja, what I'm eating, what workouts I'm doing, what gym I'm going to, I answer that with such, you know, gratitude to be able to provide that to someone else. Because when I was heavy and going through it, I didn't really have anyone to like look up to or vent to, especially at that age. No one really shares their story because it's so superficial. Everyone's kind of like, I'm losing weight, but like secretly no one has to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And sharing that is extra inspiring to others. And I think that what you guys are doing is similar to that it's not so much about, you know, encouraging weight loss or a healthier lifestyle, but just mental health and making it known that it's okay to share that vulnerable side of you. It's needed to live a healthy, happy life, to vent, to have that support system. So I really do want to come to the next one. I think we should bring our moms.
Yes,
I
you
think that'll
guys
be
should.
cute.
Yes.
I don't know about my mom, but I don't know about your mom either.
I want to bring them and put mics on them.
They're going to be whispering.
Que esta mierda.
They cannot concentrate. They're going to be whispering with a little mic. That's literally what they're going to be doing.
We're actually thinking about doing a Spanish-speaking one, right, Clara?
Yeah.
She doesn't sound so sure about that. She's like,
We talked about it today.
Today, okay.
Today.
Yeah, my therapist was like, I'll do a Spanish-speaking one for all the girls here. Because we've had a lot of people actually, like one of my mom's clients was saying that. She's like, oh, I would love to go, but I don't speak English, so I don't know. I have a friend that she's just Spanish-speaking as well. And she came to an English one and she enjoyed it. She really did. But like, I feel like they would really take it in if they
Understand
if
what
did a
people were
Spanish
saying.
one. Yeah.
So switching things up a little bit, since you guys are both entrepreneurs, how do you think you stay, in a way, sane? Like your mental well-being? Like how do you guys keep yourselves zen?
I've learned that balance does not exist. No, I'm just kidding. It does. But it's so hard. Clara, you could go.
Claire was like thinking about it for...
Sarah,
I'm insane.
So I cry for sure, a lot. But I also
First step, cry, right? Let it out.
What's the secret? I cry
She's crying right now.
a lot. But I go to the beach like almost every week to ground myself. I work out. I go to yoga. I go to church. Like I do a lot.
I do a lot.
I do a lot to stay sane.
Yeah. I feel that like, so there's always that analogy that everyone loves to use about filling your own cup, right? Like, so there's been times in my career where I've been so freaking burnt out that I'm complaining all the time. I'm so negative, and I notice it in myself and in my body. Like, this isn't me. And so it took a lot for me to learn that, like, again, coming from immigrant parents, all you see is like the hustle and the bustle and like
And they're miserable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you have to constantly be working, and like also they came from a different country. Like we're so lucky that if anything were to happen to us, we have our parents to lean on, but they came to this country and they didn't have anyone to lean on. So like imagine living that whole conditioned life and being at this age, like that's all you know, working and like feeling like you don't have someone to lean on. And so that's what they did, right? So like we grew up and we saw that was the example for us. And so it took me a very long time to understand, like, not everything is about work. Like, I'm not going to end up under a bridge, you know, like it's okay. I don't have to be working all the time. So understanding that through therapy, I understood that, like I found that out through therapy. She's like, girl, you just got to rest. Like, that's all you need. Just take more time for yourself. So like even reprogramming the thought of like, if I'm not working or if I'm not being productive, like in the sense doing something, sometimes being productive is not always doing something. Sometimes being productive is just literally sitting down and watching TV, or like, not all the time, but like, you know,
Not all the time, you know,
honoring-
a couch
honoring what
potato.
your body needs.
and
Yeah.
so that's what I feel like I had to learn. Like sometimes being productive is literally doing nothing at all, because that's what my body needs in that moment. I need to rest. So I feel like that's like a really big thing that I've learned in the career of like not burning out, is like filling my cup, because when I fill my cup, I can show up for others. I can show up professionally. I can show up in relationships.
Yeah. In 2022, I suffered a burnout and it was pretty bad. And I realized that sometimes overworking is just a coping mechanism. Like
because you think it's gonna make you kind of like forget your problems.
Exactly.
It's a distraction.
It's like an
Distraction,
escape,
yeah.
you know, and you just work all the time because you're just focused in that working world.
Yeah.
And then you're not really facing the reality of the things that you need to face.
Yeah.
And that's not really the way, you know?
Yeah.
Like
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're gonna reach your breaking point.
Yeah, whatever you
Yeah.
resist persists. So if something is like there, you're feeling it, like take the time like to like really look at it and like what do I need right now? And in just doing that, that's healing work, you know? And that's what we try to do in our workshops. Like people sometimes will just do this, like, well, exactly what you're doing, like this is therapy.
And creating awareness.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Like I'm going through that too. That's like the main thing too. Like it's so funny. Everyone shares what it is that they're going through. And I always like to share, like, did you guys realize a lot of us are going through like similar things? Because like you're not alone.
Yeah,
like,
you always think you're alone.
you're
but
not crazy.
not.
Yeah. Like we all go through that just in different ways. And like this is why it's so important to like take the time for yourself to like talk about it. And even just releasing, it's like, it's all you need.
I feel at the same time you guys are helping others, you're helping yourselves too,
Definitely.
right? I feel like you feel it.
As we prepare for these workshops, we like go back to our notes, we go back to books that we've read, we get refreshed. So that helps us as well, because now we refresh on all this information that we've already taken in, but you know, you don't always remember
Absolutely.
everything. So we evolve as we go, helping others.
Yeah.
Love that. You want to add something?
I wanted to ask, at what age do you think it's recommended for girls or boys to like start seeking that, you know, like not reliance, but like that safe space of being, you know, learning how to share and like knowing it's okay to share feelings? Like at what age would you expect someone to come to these workshops?
Well, I would say from when a child can talk already, or before they talk, you can start teaching them mindfulness.
Yeah, that's true, like,
but
as
not
a
to come
parent.
to the workshops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But our workshops, we've had like I think a 12-year-old come, right?
Yeah.
The mom and
Interesting.
those 2 daughters.
No, she was 15.
No, not the teenage one. The other one was like 12.
Oh, yes. The other daughter, yeah, she was 12. Yeah.
So I think mindfulness can start at any age.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, awareness.
And you have kids, so like.
Yeah,
you
I think
know.
it falls
Yeah.
back on the parent and the teachings, passing it
I've been
along.
teaching my kids mindfulness for years already. My kids are both very mindful. I
they're so
actually
cute.
have a funny story that my son was on a field trip and the kids were like standing in front of a bush and they were all like tearing, like he's like, they were like tearing the leaves. And then he's like, and then all of a sudden, Mom, I got in front of the bush and I opened my arms and I said, stop. Those plants are living.
That's so cute.
And I thought that was cute. Like, he was like 7 at the time, you know? And he had that awareness and that mindfulness that plants are living and we shouldn't be like tearing them up.
It's even like the thought is deeper. It's like it's a plant, but it's like he's being like he's helping something in that moment, whatever it is, like, and being like empathetic with the plant.
Yeah, and he's aware that a plant is living.
Yeah.
That's so cute because especially at that age, so young, like they don't care. They're out there pulling trees, like they're not protecting anything.
That's how they let out their frustrations. Kids are nuts.
They just don't know any better.
Yeah, they don't.
That's true. That's why all those teachings do come. Like it starts at home.
It does start
It's
off.
something that's not taught in school. So that's why I asked, like, what age, you know, because these workshops really make a difference. Sometimes you learn even more in these workshops than in actual school, how to be a human, how to be compassionate and kind. And like your son did, he was protecting the plants at all costs. And the same way he did that, he would probably do that for another human. And I think it's a great way to maybe stop bullying or just, you know, not stop it completely because I don't think it'll ever be stopped, but just creating that mindfulness that like we need to take care of each other as human. And you learn that in, you know, valuable lessons in workshop, church, just everyday life.
I feel like it starts in the womb. Like I read
100%.
I read this book and it's he's a relationship therapist and like just so I don't like babble on, but he basically explains that like we start feeling when we're in the womb. Like as soon as we're born and they cut the umbilical cord, the reason why we cry is because we're being disconnected from like the most like connection we ever felt. We're like our mother's transferring nutrients to us, so we feel so safe, and then we're brought into this world, and then we grow up, and like our basis of love is our parents. Like they teach us like how we love and how we accept love. And so we move into life and all we crave is connection. Like at the end of the day, like I don't care who you are, like we just want to feel connected and we want to feel heard and loved. And so life happens and we learn that love sometimes hurts us. Love sometimes like or like our parents might have not been there for us. So like the basis learning, and now we have to unlearn that. And so that's why it's so important to be mindful of like mental health and like how you're showing up in relationships and how you're doing that. Because a lot of times we can blame the outside, but it all starts like here and here. Like it all starts with us. So I definitely think it starts from like the womb.
It definitely does. And we learn how to attach and bond to other humans through our parents. So many people have attachment issues and are not even aware of it, and that's like a whole other
podcast.
Whole other podcast. But attachment styles are very real, and it's something that someone should become aware of. Like, what is your attachment style? How do you love and how do you bond to others? And how do you relate to your partner who most likely has an opposite attachment style to you? So it does start in the womb and it starts in infancy.
It's so important too, because like, you know, there's generations that come with us, right? And like we start to think like we're getting older, we're becoming adults, and we're like, what's my purpose? Like, what is life? You know, you start asking yourself these things, and that's why it's so important. This is why we do the workshops, because we want to give you time to recognize like, this is where my life is at. How can I make it better? Like, what can I focus on that like only I can change? And so many things like therapy, doing that, working out, like doing yoga, like even going out with friends, like all of that is a way to like come back to yourself. Like everything, every experience that you go through always brings you back to yourself. Like whenever you experience anxiety or depression, like, and you start to think like, why, like this external thing, like why didn't this work out, or why did this happen to me? It brings you back to yourself. And like, this is why it's so important to work on those things, so you know like, oh, okay, like this happened to me, like what can I learn from it? Versus like living life like a victim.
And also accepting that when life happens to you, it's actually happening for you.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've gotten to a good place. Whenever something happens and doesn't go my way, I'm always like, oh, I guess it just wasn't meant for me. And that's just the way that I always think now. Even if it's like super negative, I don't understand it, I question it, and then I'm like, no, it wasn't meant for me.
You let it go.
That's the way that it was meant to be.
You're like, there's something better coming. Yeah. You gotta keep positive.
Absolutely. You learn like life and like what works for you.
Yeah. But you gotta be like accepting of like opening up for help or like seeking
That's
yourself.
a big thing.
Yeah, you have to be mindful of that. You wanna add something?
Yeah, I think I've learned this the hard way, like not pondering or overthinking. The second you start doing that, everything just kind of, at least for me, it goes downhill. Whereas if I'm open about it and I just kind of let it go and like accept the fact that, you know, like this is a learning experience rather than, oh my God, like the world hates me, like this is the end. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like that's just damaging to oneself. So having that mindset is so important to just let it go.
And accepting like whatever happens on the outside, like you literally can't control. Literally, like literally.
Literally
Miami
can knock 'em
comes
out.
out. You can't control that. All you can control is like your inner like life, like your
reactions.
your
how
inner
you
world.
react.
Yeah, that's all you can control.
If you guys can share with the listeners right now your top, I guess, 3 tips to help with your mental well-being and just balanced life, like what would those 3 tips be?
So you want to go first?
I would say number 1 is love yourself. Like, love yourself, care for yourself, put yourself first, because when you put others first, even if it's your children, at some point I feel like you're just so tired of like doing so much for other people and feeling like you're in the back seat. And it doesn't mean that you love your children any less because you put yourself first. It actually means you love your children more because you're teaching them to put themselves first. And I just think it's very, very important to like love yourself and put yourself first from someone who was very selfless before. And that's what we learn as Cuban women, especially. Like, everyone else comes before you. You have to feed everyone. Like, you have to take the shirt off of your back for everyone else. And how are Cuban women? Most of them aggressive, you know.
Yeah. But they are
So-
very loving people.
Yeah,
they are very loving.
They are coming from having a Cuban mother. Very loving.
I love my
you
mom.
know? I love my mom too.
They're all the same.
Realistic.
They
They're
really
all very
are.
similar, you know. And I'm Cuban as well, you know.
But yeah, I would have loved, like, now that I'm older, like I see how my mom takes care of herself and like how she puts her boundaries, but like even more, like I want her to like, you know, do what makes you happy. Like whenever she's happy, I'm happy. Or like whenever like I'm happy, like she's happy. Like whenever we're all happy, like everyone else
the
gonna be
best.
happy.
You're happy. You should be happy. We all should be happy.
It's more like you fill your cup, you could fill others. Like
true.
there's a quote and it says like, when your greatest like choice to love someone is loving yourself first, taking care of you first, because you show up in that relationship more loving. Like I can't give what I don't have, you know? So I think like another thing that's very important is like, I don't want to use the word boundaries, but like we need boundaries in our lives.
It's okay to say no.
Yeah, it's
Lily has
okay
that
to
problem.
say no. The people pleasing complex, like I suffer a lot from that. Like it's okay to say no sometimes, because sometimes we feel that by saying no, we are rejecting that person or we're hurting that person, but the contrary, we're enabling that person.
And we're building resentment, because every
Resentment
time we
in
say
us.
no when we really want to, when we say yes, when we really want to say no, you build resentment.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it just because you want to please someone else, but it's not what you really want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I've learned is if that person like truly, truly honors you and respects you, they'll understand if you say no. And like that's something that was really hard that I had to learn. And another thing, like you're not alone. Like just ask for help. Like if you're struggling through something, there's always someone that cares. Like you're not looking in the right place, or sometimes you're assuming that this person doesn't care, but you haven't shared that. That's why, again, being vulnerable is a huge strength. Like telling someone like, hey, I'm going through this, and even just offering that support, or if they can't, that's okay. There's someone else that cares. There's always someone that cares.
This microphone is heavy.
Yeah. Switch hands, girl. Switch hands.
That carpal tunnel.
I'm gonna get out of here with back problems. I know. Need my back strap tonight. Oh. All right. So the first tip was self-love. Second tip,
Boundaries.
boundaries. Third,
Ask for help.
ask for help. Wanna add something to that?
Yes.
I mean, I could definitely go on with that list. I feel like, you know, it's an endless list. But the boundaries, that one hits home because I've always been a people pleaser, and I feel like you too. Like we were raised to really like be present.
Not that much.
I know Jennifer. We're a month apart. I've known her since she was a week. No.
Jen is like, not here.
She's like, no, that's a strange.
Well, you know, she's like, I will say no. I struggle with that. Even like I will go through the struggle, the trouble of putting everything aside to kind of be there for someone, especially if it's like a close friend. Even when I know maybe that person doesn't return it to me, I'm always making myself available, and I keep it to myself. And that resentment, it really does build up. And there's been friendships that have been broken because of that, because it gets to a level of like, you just get worn out. Same with relationships. You get so tired of saying yes, 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 when in reality, you should have said no for certain things. And then you're at a point where it's now there's no fixing this.
And sometimes there's people that like, you know, they don't realize that they're taking. In those moments where you're always saying yes and you're abandoning your needs because you wanted to say no, you're teaching them that they could consistently do that. And sometimes they think like it's okay, like it doesn't bother her, but like that's why it's so important to be honest. Like, which I'm still learning, guys. I know this, but I'm still learning. I do sometimes I say white little lies to get myself out of certain things is I don't want to be honest. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, that's actually really hard to do. But it should be okay to do that, you know? And like what I was saying is that sometimes we like self-abandon, and that's why the self-value part is so important, because that's how we learn that like, you know, knowing your value, like you'll say no to certain things that like you don't agree to anymore, because that person is not being reciprocal in that relationship. Because it's like everything, like what you give, like you take, like when you give and you take. And I know there's people that say like, oh, but like you shouldn't give without like, you know, and expect something back. And when it comes to things like love and like relationships, like yes, you should expect that that person is at that same level of you. Like you can offer them help, but you also, there needs to be reciprocation in that relationship.
Yeah, it's so important for relationships, and I think
to thrive.
To thrive, and also another thing I would add to that list, I would add a fourth one of just being self-aware. Being
100%
self-aware. It's so hard to not be self-aware and get consumed by everything going on, and being present in the moment sometimes, that you forget to kind of like think about the situation and think about whether it's a yes or a no. Yeah. And then you just jump the gun and you're like, yes. And then once you're doing it, you're like, I hate this, like I'm miserable. And then the energy is just not it. Yeah. And when you have bad energy and you put that out into the world and in front of this person, that's when things kind of start going downhill and toxic relationships start. Communication problems start. And it just doesn't flow right. So just being self-aware of like putting yourself in the right situations. I feel like I'm like giving myself really good advice, but I don't follow it.
That's what always happens though, especially with you.
I'm being self-aware right now.
I feel we embody a lot of things. So.
Yeah, we do. But like everyone else, we struggle. Like,
yeah, you guys learn in the process.
We're learning.
With everyone else.
Yeah, like it's what I tell myself when like something's going on and it feels like the worst thing that could possibly happening, and I'm like, I thought that a year ago when I was going through something hard, and then I got through it. Like I could get through this, and I'll get through the next thing. It's like phase by phase, you know, just like preparing myself for the next one. I'm gonna be okay.
Did you guys ever have a moment, because you both are like as entrepreneurs, that you didn't know what your life purpose was going to be?
Yes. Many times. Like I would get so consumed with like money. Like I've noticed this, like when I was so money hungry, like even like I was making the money and I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel fulfilled because I needed a deeper meaning into my work. And then I started to think to myself, like, why do I do this? What brings me joy from this job? And I had to sit down and tell myself, like, you know what really brings me joy? It's these interactions with these women, like meeting women from different walks. And even in that moment, if they can offer me advice or I can offer them advice, that was so fulfilling to me. And instead of centering my focus and my purpose on like becoming the best makeup artist in like, I don't know, the United States, like being like Makeup by Mario, that's not my purpose. Like, or maybe it will be, but like in a different way. But my purpose is to like, really realign that and redefine that. Like this is about like being present. That's all it was. Like it was just being present in my work and enjoying it.
I feel like me and Marialys are redefining what beauty actually is. Like we're showing women that beauty is not just an outer thing, but beauty comes from inside. And the more beautiful you are inside, the more that reflects outwards.
Absolutely.
So I feel like we're in the beauty field to do that, just redefine what beauty is to women and to support them, empower them, and have them support us as well.
I love that. I didn't make the connection with like you in the beauty field and then seeing, you know, what's inside
Inner
on
and
the
outer
outside.
beauty.
Yeah. I love how you connected that. You want to add something to that?
I was just gonna say that's beautiful. Like, it's you know,
Beautiful. She's beautiful.
I'm gonna cry.
I feel like these past few years, like, you know, like with the media, Hollywood, the idea of beautiful, the idea of perfection, so many, not just women, but so many struggle with like, you know, that outer image and being that perfection, hot person, when in reality, it all comes from within.
Absolutely.
It all comes from within. Some of the most beautiful women that I know are because of their personality, because of the energy they put out. I love being around them. I encourage them to come around me. And that is why I was in a sorority, and that is why I was president, because I wanted to be.
You wanted to be.
With that being said, I'm running for president.
Listen, when I tried to take the mic from you, I want to hear you. The thing is that I forget what I'm going to say, so I'm like, give it to me before I forget. Like, I just forgot. Okay, so going back to beautiful women industry and media, whatever. Haven't you guys noticed, and personality being the most important thing, that sometimes the hottest guys out there are like with normal looking girls? Like,
Absolutely.
you would think this hot, beautiful guy will be with a hot, beautiful girl, but most of the time they're not, because it's on the freaking inside. It's their
And
personality.
most likely that girl's confident.
Exactly. Which is so
Yeah.
crazy to me.
I noticed, like, prior to meeting my Prince Charming, love of my life.
I hope he watches.
Yeah, I hope you're watching. He is such, like, he's everything I've ever, I mean, he's not perfect, but like, he's everything I've ever dreamed of. And it's like, when I was searching for what you are is what you're going to attract, right?
100%.
So I remember attracting like the wrong things, and I would always think like, oh, like it's because like this person, it's their fault. Like, why do I keep attracting like these kind of guys? Like, oh my gosh. And then I started to circle back like to myself, like, why am I doing this? Is this something that I'm putting out there? Like, what is it in myself? And I recognized like I didn't have boundaries. Like, I had to create that for myself. I had to create more value to myself. I had to have more confidence. And once I started to step into that, I started like breaking in like all these amazing like people in my life, because it's like what you are is what you attract. And it's
100%. I agree with that, because like once you change your mentality, that's why when Prince Charming came around. And I feel like when I was at my highest positive point, feeling good about career about life, feeling good about my life, feeling good about my career, that's when I attracted someone that I was like-minded, that I wanted.
Yeah, your values, like, because at the end of the day, if you really prioritize your values and what you believe in, that's what you're gonna attract. Like, the outside is a plus, you know, like you have to be attracted to the person, but like your values at the end of the day are what's going to push the relationship to thrive and last and be partners.
And you got to be putting those high vibrations out into the universe
it's
too.
all energy.
It's all your energy, because if you're just putting negativity, you're going to be
desperate.
You're gonna magnetize.
or desperate
energy.
You're going to be attracting the negative stuff, the guys that you don't want in your life. So when your vibrations are high, your energy is high, everything is going good, it's like a go moment, that's when you start attracting things, and you're going to be like, wow, where did this person come from?
Yeah.
And also when you step away from the need, like I need this, I need that.
You don't
I want
need
this to be-
anything.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
when you leave that need is when real good things start coming into your life.
Yeah. You start to give everything to yourself, and people see that. Like, when people see like someone that's desperate, or like when someone that, like, let's say that person is not that way, or like so needy like that, or like it's unattractive. Like, you know, someone that's prioritizing those values is going to be like, nah, like, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Confidence is attractive.
It is. You want to add on to that?
Yeah, I just think we have to let life play out and not force anything. When we first started this podcast, I was extremely negative and just
Extremely negative when I met her.
like I felt like everything that I wanted to do was just so unobtainable, and that I wasn't good enough, and that maybe someone else deserved it more than I did. And hanging out with her was really what started to help me to see the light at the end of the tunnel and start believing in myself. And like,
That's beautiful.
and it goes to show, when you surround yourself with that type of energy, it rubs off. And
Absolutely.
not only do you learn, but you also open up your heart, and like you open up your mind to like this endless world of possibilities and feelings and emotions that don't have to be negative. Being negative just slows you down and sets you in the hole. In the hole, basically.
We really create our own limits.
Yeah.
So when I think back to like some of the darkest points of my life so far, which I know there's going to be several more because that's what life is all about, but the reason why I got out of them was because I started surrounding myself with like lighter energy, refreshing thoughts, putting myself in situations and rooms where like I was wanted, and not feeling that pressure of like, oh my gosh, maybe I don't deserve to be here. Maybe like, like that girl's like, like perfect, and I'm like next to her and I'm not worthy. That thought alone is
It's the confidence.
exactly confidence.
One thing,
confidence.
Jennifer, like I'm her cousin, like she's always known what she's wanted, and like she's like confident about it, and she is a go-getter. Like I feel the same way with Clara. Like even with the workshops, I felt like in the beginning I was like, I'm not like qualified for this. Like who am I to be
Honestly,
talking
when
about
I
mental
first
health?
thought, it was like, Marialys.
Yeah.
This is,
I'm
I
like,
see
who am
this
I to
one
be-
coming.
Yeah. I'm like a undercover little ninja when it comes to like mental health. I remember when we would talk about the workshops, I felt like I wasn't qualified to do that. Like, who am I to like talk about like mental health or like self-development? And Clara was like, you know what? Like, we could do this. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, we're going to do this. Like, we're just going to post it and we're going to do it. And I'm so happy that she was like that pusher and she had that confidence for the both of us, because like now I feel like, okay, like we were meant to be doing this. And like you said, being in a room of people that like, or surrounding yourself with people that believe in you and believe in like a higher purpose, like that is what's going to push you towards that. But if you're always surrounding yourself with people that are like, always judgmental or like gossiping or like, which that's very common in Miami, like you will never truly fulfill what it is that you dream and hope for.
Which I think, I always think back to like high school. I always think back to high school, and I remember it. I was lucky enough to experience a smaller class, so it wasn't as cliquey as like my other friends that went to these huge schools, and I would hear stories about like the different cliques and like, the evil.
Yeah.
The evil in the world really starts to show in these cliques in high school. And, as you grow and go into college and you start finding your clique and your group of people, you learn these things that like, you don't have to be part of that clique just because that's the standard. You don't have to be part of that group, or like, you don't have to be friends with someone specific just because like, that's the norm in your head. You can open up a world of possibility, make new friends, go to networking events. Like, I would consider your workshops networking events in a way too.
Yeah,
if I
absolutely.
feel like I'm drowning in my workspace, or if I feel like I'm drowning in school, or just, whatever group I come from, going to something like that is maybe what I need to ground, to reset and to, open my heart to a world of more refreshing, positive thoughts and energy.
That was beautiful.
I tried.
And something I wanted to add in is you're never really going to feel ready to do something. And that's what I told Marialys. I
It's
told
never
her,
the right time.
It's never, that's what I told
There's
her.
always
I told her,
something.
like, you're never going to feel ready. Like, we have to do this regardless whether we feel ready or not. Because
It's something that's been sitting in our hearts for so long.
some of the most successful people jumped into what they do not ready. So
You're right. It pretty much came out of the blue. Like, if you think back to like Facebook, MySpace, all of that, Instagram, all of those ideas just like started one day. Hey, let's test this out, and boom, like
Yeah,
it popped
it became
off.
something
They're
so
billionaires. Like,
Yeah. It's having that hope.
yeah.
Well, even like this podcast, when we first started talking about it, we were like, oh, is it, like, do we have the time to do it now? Like, is now the time? Should we wait for our following to grow a little bit? Should we get a little bit more experience?
Yeah, so
And she
many
was just kind of
factors.
like, nah, let's just do it. We have what we have. We don't have what we don't have, and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
And it's growing little by little, but
Yeah.
it's growing. We feel fulfilled. We have people listening. We have people messaging. It might not be hundreds of them, but the point is, we started.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't feel ready, we were like hungry for it, and we were
Yeah.
just like, let's just throw ourselves in and do it.
and even if you impact one person in this world, like, that's enough.
Yeah.
That is so true.
There was a post that I saw today, and it said like, you know, a lot of people do things for like clout, you know, and like, or like based off like feedback. Like a lot of people do things for feedback.
Someone else's approval, basically. Yeah.
Versus like actual faith on what it is that you want to accomplish or believe in. So if your basis is on like feedback, like the attention and all of that, like it's not going to go any further than like actually having faith in what it is that you believe. Like I said earlier, like your priorities like and values truly matter in what you do. Like that's what's going to take you far. Like when people think like, oh, like what do you tell yourself like to keep you going? And it's like I learned this from a podcast that I heard like, a year ago, and she said like, I don't list all these goals. Like I just list like, I always go back to my values. Like what do I value? I value these things. It's so simple, and that will lead you like in the right path.
Anything else you want to add? Because our cameras are dying. This is how we know when the episode has to come to an end, because the cameras start dying. The struggle, that's next. We got to buy better cameras.
Such great conversation. I could be here all night.
I know, literally.
You
but
can.
Yeah, I talk.
We know you can.
I can talk to the wall.
So whoever wants to join the next workshop, what's the info?
So the workshop is called In Our Lucky Girl Era, where you will be unleashing any shame or like the ego, like we were talking about earlier, and igniting your inner fire, your confidence, your discipline, and your motivation. And Clara?
That'll be on March 21st at 7 p.m. here at our studio in Miami Lakes. You can follow our pages for the address and other details.
To RSVP for the Eventbrite. Also, we're having a special guest. His name is John. He is a trainer, and he's my trainer, and he is great with like speaking, public speaking, and also informing you guys on like body image, the importance of confidence, and also discipline and motivation, like we mentioned earlier.
Perfect. If you want to get your makeup done, what's your Instagram too?
The Inner Muse Co.
If you want to get your brows done.
Or your permanent makeup.
Correct.
Artistry of the Soul with 2 L's at the end.
Perfect. Anything else you guys want to add regarding anything?
Well,
mindfulness, personal development, your workshop, spirituality, anything? A message for... Sorry. Olivia's thinking a message for our listeners before we go.
Something? No.
Just love yourself.
Love yourself, girl.
Love yourself. That self-love. That's
all
what our
about that
workshops are
self-love.
really about. It's about learning to love yourself in every way.
Yeah. All I would say is, again, like she had asked us what the 3 things were, and I would just say like, keep showing up for yourself, girl. Just keep showing up. Like that's what we tell each other. Just keep showing up. Whenever the day gets hard, we're like, we just show up, and like, okay, that felt a little better.
Cry it out. Cry it out.
Cry it out.
Cry it out. Don't forget to cry it out. You'll feel better.
Vulnerability is strength. And also, thank you for holding space for us. This is exactly what we like to embody in our workshops. Is what you guys are doing in a different way, but it's the same thing. Essentially, you're holding space for people to share, to have great conversation, to relate. Like this is beautiful what you guys have going on. So thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, follow, like, and we shall see you guys next week.
We're gonna go cry now.
Bye.
Let's go cry.
I love that ending.